I had a request from Travis, one of my Patreon group members, and he wanted to find out more about slash chords. So in today's video lesson, we're going to break down exactly what slash chords are and their common uses. I remember being very confused with slash chords when I first encountered them, and we're thinking of things like C/E or D/F sharp. I used to think, is it some kind of mix of the two chords, or is it one chord and then the other chord? Well, in fact, it's neither of those. We're going to take a zoom in and I'm going to break it down for you. A slash chord is essentially a chord in which the lowest note you're playing is a note other than the root note. If that concept is new to you, then the word root, it is the note upon which we build a chord. It tends to be the lowest note that we strum from. You will have learnt, when you've learnt your chords, your instructor or your YouTube teacher will say to you, you strum that chord from string 4 or string 5. And why is because, like taking a D chord, we strum from string 4 because that is tuned to the note of D. So we're starting the chord from the D note, so it's a D chord with the root as the lowest note. An A minor, for example, strum it from string 5. The open string 5 is the note A, so it's A minor. Okay, E, again, strum from the open string 6, it is the note E. You're strumming from the root. Fretted bass notes, like a G chord, strumming from string 6 at the 3rd fret, E, F, F sharp, G, it's the note G. Okay, so you're strumming from the root. C chord, strumming from string 5 at the 3rd, A, B flat, B, C. You're always strumming from the root. A slash chord is then when you play a chord, but the root note is not the lowest note that you are playing. Now this does rely on a good working knowledge of the notes on the fretboard, and to help you with that, if you've not yet already got your copy, I have my free ebook, Fretboard Mastery. This is my guide to learning the notes on the fretboard in just a few days. You can get a free copy from my shop with a link in the bio or in the cards. Coming back to the D chord, if I were to play that from the open string 5, the A note, I've created a slash chord. That's a slash chord. And how we would name that would be D/A. A D chord over the A bass note. I could then maybe grab the F sharp. I'm using my thumb over the top. F sharp. Then again I have the D chord, but this time the lowest note is the F sharp at the 2nd fret of string 6. So this would be a D/F sharp. D chord with the F sharp as the lowest note. Probably the first time you start seeing these slash chords is in progressions that have an ascending or descending, sort of stepwise bass motion. So an example would be something like G, D over F sharp to E minor. It brings what we call a better voice leading into the bass part, because if we were to play G, D, E minor, then think what the bass note, the lowest note, would be doing. It would be going G, D, E. It's sort of jumping around. To bring a bit more fluidity and a more stepwise movement into the bass, we could do G, D with the F sharp, and then E minor, for example. Another common example is that sort of setup but rooted upon string 5, so something like C. It's a C chord, this, so this chord here, this 2nd chord, I've got a G chord in the open strings 2, 3 and 4, and then I'm playing a B note, or you can think of it as kind of the inside of this G chord. So I would identify that as G/B. It is a G chord, but the B is the lowest note. Something like you'd see in Landslide. again is a G over B, it's the inside of that G chord shape, G/B. That then is the common situation that we find these slash chords, and I have created a PDF of all these common slash chord grips for members of my Patreon group. You can find out more about that and join us with the link in the bio or in the cards. Some other uses for slash chords then. The first one would be when working with triads. Triads are simple 3-note chords. Taking the D chord, a D consists of the notes of D, F sharp and A. Alright, they are the 3 elements that make up that chord. If we look at this triangular formation of notes, on those top 3 strings, I have D, F sharp and A. I have the 3 notes of that D chord. But if I play just those 3 notes, then I don't have the root D. I don't have the root as the lowest note in pitch. The lowest note I'm playing is actually the A note. So this we would identify as D/A. It's a D chord, but A is the lowest note. Now if I were to play the open string 4, then I'm back to just D, okay, because D is the lowest note. But if I strum it from string 3, then it's D/A. If I were to move up to the next triad shape, the next arrangement of those notes, I have D, F sharp, A. That there, I would just identify as D, because D is the lowest note. If I move on up to the next shape of the triad, I have those 3 notes in the other configuration. I have F sharp, A, D. That I would name as D/F sharp. The F sharp is the lowest note played. So D/A, D, D/F sharp. So the bass note needn't necessarily be on the bass strings. It's simply the lowest note of the notes that we're playing. Making the distinction too that often slash chords might be named as chord over bass notes. So something like the D/A, you could say that's D over A, a D chord over an A bass note. Another use for slash chords then is to more easily name chords which would otherwise have quite complicated names. So if we come back to the D grip, if I were to then put a B underneath that chord, then I could call that D over B. D chord with a B bass note. Now that more commonly would actually be a B-7, right? But you could name it B over D. More commonly in that instance it would be the B-7, but something like this, my D chord, but over a G bass note, G. I'm just muting string 5 with finger 2, barring with finger 1 across strings 1, 2, 3. Then the easiest way to name that would be D over G. It's a D chord over a G bass note. That grip actually has almost all the notes of what's known as a G major 9. But if you're just getting started in your chord work and you see G major 9, that's going to be very confusing. But now you know what a slash chord is and you see something like D/G, you're going to say, oh, okay, so that's a D chord with a G bass note, so G, D/G. Then you could take that and voice that in many different ways. So D grip over the G bass. There's my D triad over the G bass, over a G bass. And it can help you to start learning more complicated chords just on that basis. So that is slash chords. As I mentioned, I've created a PDF of the common open chord grips for slash chords available to all members of my Patreon group. There you can help support my work and get exclusive bonuses for as little as $3 per month. Find out more via the link in the description or in the card. If you are interested in finding more about the fundamentals of guitar music theory or even the triads, you should definitely go and check out the 2 video courses available in my online store, Guitar Rockbusters Essential Theory and Triads Inside Out. You can find out more about those with the link in the description. And over in the shop, you can also get your free copy of Fretboard Mastery, my guide on how to learn the notes of the fretboard in just a few days. Please do leave any questions you have on this topic or suggestions for future videos in the comments below. You practice well, and I'll see you again soon.